Hello, Rockville Art League. My name is Lisa Sieg, and I'm the Juried Show Chair and Exhibits Coordinator for the Rockville Art League. I'm delighted to be here today with Patrick Sieg, the Rockville Art League President, and our judge for the RAL Jury Members Spring Show, Steve Loya, who will discuss his choices for the award-winning pieces. A few brief remarks before we get started about the show in general. There were over 200 entries submitted for this show, which was juried to include 128 pieces in the 6 categories of mediums that RAL accepts for our shows. Those 6 categories of mediums are oils and acrylics, watercolors, drawings and pastels, mixed media collage and experimental, sculpture and ceramics, and photography. This is a large multimedia show, as mentioned. It is 128 pieces. It's displayed in the 6 rooms of the gallery at Glenview Mansion. It's in a variety of styles and mediums. Each has its own unique artistry. Often it has a touch of whimsy. It's truly a delight to view. Thank you for everyone who came out on Sunday, May 17th, for the opening. And thank you, Steve, for your remarks about the show and taking time to speak with the artists about their individual work that day. If you haven't seen the show yet, you are in for a real treat. If you've seen it already, you're going to want to go back and bring a friend or two. The gallery is open Monday through Fridays, 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. And it's uncrowded, so you can really focus on the art. There is an elevator to all levels of the gallery, plenty of parking. Please check the Glenview Mansion website before coming out, just in case there's special closures, or you can call the phone numbers on the back of the show card. Here's our show card, and on the back, got the numbers. Art is best viewed in person, and actually it deserves to be viewed in person, but there is a virtual show on the RockvilleArtLeague.org website. There's a white button that says virtual show, Rockville Art League Jury Members Spring Show. Please click on it and take a few minutes to look through it. There you can view the show cards, a brief description of the show, the judge's remarks, the address and phone number of Glenview, followed by the judge's I just said the judge's remarks. And then if a piece has won a prize, it's indicated on the piece. And if you're interested in purchasing a piece or finding out more about a piece, you can click on the Inquire or Purchase button, and someone will contact you. So that's all about the show in general. And now I'm going to have Patrick talk, and thank you again, Steve, for creating such an amazing show for the Rockville Art League.
Thanks, both of you. It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Lisa, thank you. And I say this often, and I mean it every time. I don't know how Lisa arranges these shows so beautifully. She said that art is best seen in person. And in addition to seeing beautiful art, you're going to see how beautifully displayed it is. Lisa, thank you again. It's my pleasure to introduce Steve briefly. He has been a long-term supporter of the Rockville Art League. He has judged shows for us before. He's presented to the group. His lovely wife, Chris, judged a show for us. And we can't be more grateful to our relationship with Steve. And he drove all the way over from Loudoun County to be with us, not only to judge the show, but then to speak with the group when we had our Meet the Artist event on Sunday. Steve is not only a wonderful person, but he's also a wonderful artist, and he's an educator. Earlier in this season, he spoke to us about his splotch monsters, which was just a really fun and creative thing. It's on our YouTube channel, and please look at it. You'll be glad you did. Steve went to Edinburgh University, not Scotland, but Pennsylvania. They obviously did a wonderful job because I can't think of a better artist. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share my screen, which has a slideshow, and then we'll get going with that. And Steve is going to share some comments about all of our award winners. Neither Lisa or I have seen or heard his comments yet, so we're very much looking forward to hearing this. So I am going to share the screen and share the PowerPoint, and I'm going to go ahead and start the show. And there we are. Can everybody see it? I hope so. Steve, you can see it?
I can see it.
All right, let's go to the next slide. So award-winning artwork, 2026 Art Show. A little bit about our judge. He's a work of art all by himself. So Steve?
Thank you. Thank you. Guys, yeah, I can't say enough how much I appreciate you both having me on board for this. This was a gorgeous show and just a complete pleasure and just a real privilege. So thank you so much. I can't wait to talk about the artwork. I don't want to talk so much about myself. I think you summed it up, Patrick. So I appreciate it, but I can't wait to share some of my words with you guys.
So we'll go ahead and jump right into categories. And our first and largest category is oils and acrylics. And we'll start with our first honorable mention.
Yeah, just what a striking piece. And if I'm not mistaken, Robin had two pieces in the show, two gorgeous paintings, one of which I believe came in first place. And this one, if I'm not mistaken, was 48 by 48, so it was the biggest in the show. And I really had the honor of talking with Robin and her husband about both this painting and her other painting, which we'll talk about later. But it's interesting how we can interpret a painting or a drawing or any visual art. And I learned that my initial interpretation of what it might have meant was completely opposite of what the real story is behind this painting that Robin shared with me. And a lot of it, I'm not going to go on too long, but a lot of it is personal, so I'm not going to go into that. But just a striking piece, a very bold composition, just beautifully painted. The way that's her mother, by the way she's just kind of in between those two palm trees. Um, yeah, just a very bold and beautiful piece.
Thank you. Our next honorable mention, Renee Lockman, City Gardeners.
Yeah, I think, I was talking to some folks who were standing around the painting. I don't believe I got to meet Renee, unfortunately, but I think what really drew people in was that sky, that red, which I'm assuming is the sky. I don't know, Patrick and Lisa, is it the sky? Whatever it is, I love it, and I think just the way we have all these people working, just hard at work. Um, it's kind of funny. I was telling Patrick and Lisa how in the mornings before I go in to teach, I do crossing guard duty. So I kind of have a little place in my heart for those neon yellow vests. But I think this one was not easy to pull off as far as all the different people doing different things with the branches and whatnot. Um, yeah, just a gorgeous painting and another huge painting, just a big one.
Let's go to the next one. Another honorable mention, Hong Jin Lee, Green Doors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think we were talking. I'm not sure if I meant. I think I got to shake her hand, but um, this is a place that I would like to visit personally. When I look at it, it's a sunny, gorgeous place. I think what's most striking about it is the shadows and also the angle of the trees, the way the trees were cropped in this painting. I think it's very much a painter's painting. It has a very painterly quality to it that I love. You can see the texture, just the treatment of light, but it looks like somewhere that could be in perhaps California or even perhaps Santa Fe. Um, and I think it's interesting how the title is Green Doors. Even though the green doors are more towards the background, I think it's a really neat choice for a title for this one.
This one I thought was
Yeah.
particularly excellent. I was
You know,
honored to be in the show, and I'm honored to be mentioned. Thank you. Heads Up is the
well,
title of this one.
yeah, well, I love your style, Patrick. You know, I feel like you have a pretty distinct style of realism, but again, it has a very painterly quality. This one can be interpreted in so many ways, but it's beautifully composed. It seems almost humorous. I mean, there is something kind of funny about cows and just the look in that cow's big eyes. Um, you know, where I went to college at Edinburgh University, we were kind of in the middle of nowhere in Western PA, and we had lots of farmland. And a lot of times for fun, myself and my friends would go walking around towards the outskirts of campus and say hi to the cows. And you know, they were just there's almost a human quality to them. With those big eyes, they would just come up and look at you, and they seem so docile and so friendly. And all they really wanted to do was just eat their grass, and be left alone, I think. But they were always curious as to these strange uh, beings walking on two legs coming up to them and trying to speak to them. But yeah, beautiful painting. It's a very bold composition too, I have to say, because you have the behind of that one cow in the foreground, but you know, what keeps drawing you in is the face of the cow on the middle left area. So yeah,
Well, you've
beautiful
mentioned
piece, Patrick.
composition a few times. I have to give credit to Lisa because she took the reference photo. Thank you, Lisa.
Wow. I love that. So kind of a collaborative
You
piece.
bet. It
Yes.
happens
That's
all the time.
great.
Yeah.
Teamwork.
Very nice cows. They're very curious, like that description of them. Yeah.
All right, let's go to the next one. Another honorable mention, Debbie Cohen, Yellow Rose.
Hmm. Yeah. The way she captured the light, the lighting, you know, especially as you kind of go towards the top, the different shades of yellow, you got a little bit of orange and some pink going on in there. Um, I love the texture. I mean, there's just something, you know, it's amazing how flowers have been such an inspiration for artists for so many years. I mean, you know, with my late wife, Chris, she was obsessed with flowers. Um, but I love, again, that this is very much an oil painting, but it's very realistic and it's just very vibrant. It's almost coming off the canvas. And if I do recall, this was a smaller piece, which I love. You know, it's amazing how scale can have such an impact um, on a painting.
Go to the next one. Um, Honorable
Yeah.
mention, Zhao Zhaohan, Filtered Light.
Hmm. Yeah, this is one where I almost overlooked an aspect of this painting that to me just kind of made it stand out from simply a flower painting. And besides the gorgeous rendering of the flowers, I believe those are peonies, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not an expert. Um, you know, just the way the light is kind of coming through the blinds, and the glass, the rendering of the glass. What I really love, what I find sets this apart, is those little cars,
Mhm.
either matchboxes or Hot Wheels. And while there's something so calming and peaceful and quiet about this painting, I could imagine maybe shortly before um, this image was painted or before it was photographed. I'm not sure if it was painted from life. There was probably a lot of young human activity going on and a lot of noise. So, you know, I could just only imagine the before and after. I could imagine kids playing on that table with the little cars, eventually setting them down. And I just love how she so successfully rendered them in the reflection on that vase and just the green that's reflected onto the table. So, yeah, gorgeous, gorgeous piece.
Here's our first numbered prize, third prize, Federico Giove, My Sweet Dog.
Yeah, I was very happy to have met Federica at the show. there's something about meeting the artist and just kind of, putting a face to the creator. And her enthusiasm was wonderful. Just her pride in her work. And you can see that in this one. And I just think, and there's just something so endearing, so sweet, but so technically well executed. And, I know clouds, I've tried to paint clouds and they're very difficult. She did such a great job. That's those subtle hints of sunlight coming through the sky. And just that very bold choice to make the dog the rider of this beautiful little bike. So many different things. And I think also for me, nostalgia kind of plays into it. I think of one of my favorite movies, E.T., and just the scene where Elliot, the boy, and the little alien is sitting in a basket, and they're kind of flying across the moon in the sky. For some reason, that reminds me of this a little bit, but that's just my interpretation. But yeah, just a very endearing, charming, beautiful little painting.
I have tried to paint bicycles before, and getting those wheels round, which she has done so
Yes.
beautifully,
Oh
always
yeah.
just about drives me crazy.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, Pat, because uh, besides the shape of the wheels, the other thing is the spokes. And I asked her, I said, so how did you manage to make those spokes? Did you use a ruler or something to make like just them so straight and so precise? And she said, I don't know. I just did it. And I thought that was a great answer. How you're just so into it and so locked in. Sometimes you forget the process, right? I'm sure we can all relate to that sometimes.
Go to our next prize winner. Second prize, Robert Lamar, Oceanus.
Yeah, I wish Robert was there at the show. He had two pieces in, and this one was just so striking. I'm very much into color and I love abstract painting, but I have tried painting in this style, very geometric, kind of abstract style, and it is extremely difficult. The precision, the patience. You can see he has such a thorough understanding of how colors and shapes interact, beautifully composed. And this is very reminiscent of one of my favorite all-time favorite artists, Paul Klee. Um, in particular, I'm thinking of a painting he did called Fish Magic. I don't know if you've seen it before, but if you look closely, what looks like waves are actually fish in that painting, in this painting. And um, I could easily see this in the Phillips collection or even, in the National Gallery. It's just a really gorgeous abstract piece that just makes me happy to look at.
And by the way, he was present,
Oh,
and
he
he
was.
heard your
Okay.
comments. It's just that there were an awful lot of people there.
There were. Oh, I wish I would have gotten the chance to talk to him.
Well, it's not too
Yeah.
late. You'll probably meet him later. Okay, so
Yeah.
let's go to our first prize in oils and acrylic. Again, Robin Lazarus Berlin, Batman.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, what a pleasure it was talking to Robin and her husband. And such a great couple. Her husband was so proud of her. He said, I'm her biggest supporter. And I found out that he is also a photographer. And if I'm not mistaken, I think he is an architect as well. And we were talking about, again, that topic of nostalgia. And she said that um, her painting thesis was nostalgia. And I told her when I look at this piece, I think about when I would visit my grandmother in Johnstown, Pennsylvania. My brother and I, we would go play in the backyard. Of course, we pretend we were superheroes or Star Wars characters or whatever. And we would just play these roles and get kind of lost um, in these roles. But what I love about this is just not just the central figure, the little boy in that old Batman costume from what looks like maybe the 1960s. But I also love the landscape and just that wide expanse of land. Um, Something about it that just is so. um, beautiful to me, for lack of a better word. I just love how it just keeps going. And again, it kind of reminds me of when I would visit my grandmother and then my other grandparents in Johnstown, PA, and just play for hours on end in the backyard and kind of get lost in this world of imagination. Um, yeah, it's just a really fun, but technically beautifully painted, very large painting too. So just, yeah, big congrats to Robin. I'm so glad I got to talk to her and get a little more insight on this piece and speak with her husband. And I do believe some of this was inspired by her son. So I think the original photographic reference was her son, but she used more vintage, I guess, costume for the Batman kid.
Okay, so let's go to our next category, which is watercolors. And we'll start with honorable mention, Martha Seigel, A Nice Day.
Yeah. One thing I noticed about all the watercolors in this exhibit was just how versatile watercolor can be. And, this one, it almost has a very impressionistic feel. And what I love about this one, besides just the way it was painted and the use of color, is that balance of geometric forms, kind of balancing out the more amorphous plant life, like the flowers and the grass and the trees. You have that, what looks like a cabin in the background or some kind of house. Um, I love the wood panels, the straight geometric wood panels, the triangular roof. And I think it just all comes together nicely. And what's really intriguing is how that house is kind of a little bit hidden. It's not front, like right there in the front, but it's a little bit hidden. It almost invites you in to explore and to eventually go towards that cabin and find out what's happening. So it's just, I think with summer coming up, this has a very summery feel. Just a beautiful watercolor. I love the style. It's a very bold, gorgeous piece.
Our next honorable mention, Jill Adelberg, Summer Blues.
Yeah, Jill had a couple pieces in this exhibit, a couple pieces that had made it in. And, it's very much, it was hard deciding what to give, what kind of award to give to what. Um, and just, again, super skilled, very technically precise in her work. I love her use of space, her knowledge of composition. And, I'm just trying to imagine how she so successfully rendered that background because she could have kept it blank, right? And it would still have been pretty successful. But I think just putting that, I believe this was inspired by a winery. Um, that background is all the more intriguing and just another layer of, I think, technical difficulty that I'm just trying to comprehend. But beyond that, it's just a beautiful piece. I love the butterfly, the rendering of the leaves, a gorgeous watercolor.
Our third prize, Karen Norman, Worlds.
Yeah, this was a big one, a very large scale watercolor painting, which was impressive because, normally when I think of watercolors, they're a little bit smaller. And it was fun talking to Karen. Her son was the subject of this painting and the inspiration behind it. I think a lot of us can relate to a time in our lives where we're kind of wondering about our future, right? We're wondering what the future holds, what paths to take, what what paths to pursue. And I feel like she caught that. And there's this realism, but also this very dreamlike quality to it. Um, it was interesting talking with Karen because she said this version. I think she did another version, but this wasn't exactly her choice as far as how she wanted to render this. That she wanted to do this differently, but she kind of last minute decided to submit this one. And I told her, well, that's good because you got the third prize in this show, which is impressive. Um, But yeah, I love that he's just kind of looking out, and I love the little galaxy. I guess they're planets up there. But also what's intriguing, I asked Karen, I said, hey, tell me a little bit about those textures on the right, or I'm sorry, on the left, that vertical panel. And she said they were, I guess, influenced by, I guess, Asian calligraphy. I don't know if you guys can see that, but I thought that was kind of an interesting addition to the painting.
Go to our second prize. Susan Moses, Grand Canyon.
Yeah, I think this is almost it's this almost is hyper realism. I've been to the Grand Canyon, and this really captures its majesty. I'm just trying to think how long it must have taken her to kind of render, the cliff sides and the rocks. I love the light along the, kind of reflecting in the Colorado River, that big blue sky against the more orange, kind of brown, earthy tones. Um, this kind of reminds me of a much calmer version of an experience I had where um, a while back, when I went to the Grand Canyon, I was dating a girl who was really into taking risks, and she wanted to go on a helicopter ride. And this reminds me somewhat of the helicopter ride going through the Grand Canyon. But I just remember being so terrified. I actually looked through my camcorder the whole time, so I didn't have to look through the window without something in between. But this is a much calmer, I think, version of that experience for me personally. But
So the
yeah, just
painting
an
didn't frighten
absolutely. What's that, Pat?
it didn't frighten you, this painting.
No, no. This I could look at for hours. I love the level of detail and just a beautiful watercolor.
Let's go to our first prize. Again, Jill Alberg, Swinging on Sweets.
Yeah, another one from Jill. Um, this is one where I had to kind of trust my intuition, and this one just jumped out at me, and I had to say, this is it. This is the one that gets first prize, and it's just, um, for lack of a better term, a very sweet image in the best sense of the word. I think there's a certain artistic liberty that we take as artists and painters as far as what we use in our compositions. And I love that big pack of lifesavers below the parakeets. And it nicely balances everything with the strawberries on the top. Um, and it's just, again, just really well painted. And it sounds almost picky, but I love how the silver foil was rendered in this one in particular. But again, nostalgia comes into play. I look at these lifesavers. I think about as a kid, again, visiting my grandmother. She would always give my brother and I a pack of lifesavers. So I think that definitely helped my decision. But yeah, just a great watercolor in general.
Let's go to our next category, which is pastels, drawings, and hand-pulled prints. We've got an honorable mention, Mauricio Atti, Garden
Yeah.
Sketch.
Yeah, I love the spontaneity of this one. I love seeing some of the process. I'm a sucker for a good sketch. I love looking at people's sketchbooks, and yeah, there's a lot of great energy in this piece, and the colors are just very lush. I love the balance of the warmer tones, the more neutral tones with the different shades of green. Very nicely composed, and it just looks like a place you'd want to spend a spring or summer afternoon. It's a very inviting little watercolor. I believe it's a watercolor.
It's actually a pencil and pastel. So
It's a
let's
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. Yeah. I mean, it's just, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I see that.
color pencil pastel. Okay.
Yeah, I love it.
Next honorable mention, Patricia Swan Jacobs, Stopping by the Woods.
Yeah. Well, first of all, pastels in general are something I tried, and it's such a difficult medium, I find. as far as the layering, the patience involved. Um, but what I love about this is that sense of quiet. Um, I love the light, that sunlight coming up through the trees. I've taken lots of walks in the winter in the country, and this very much captures that kind of quiet, calm, peaceful feeling of just walking through the snow in the wintertime.
Third prize, Mario Renato, Eisenhower. What do we do with Lumumba, Mr. President? Pascal.
Yeah, it was great talking with Mario. He's very serious about his work, and he has he's very proud of his work, understandably. And again, trying to render a face in pastel. This is not a painting. Doing that so well. Eisenhower, of course, he's clearly before my time, but I've seen many photos of him, and it's just he looks like he's looking right at you, and he's about to start speaking. But yeah, I just love the shades of blue. Just everything about this is just really well done. And I'm just glad I got to meet Mario. A really, really cool person.
Let's go to second prize. Diane Weiner, Lost in Thought, charcoal.
Yeah, again, I love a good drawing, good charcoal drawing. I think one of the most difficult things for artists is knowing when to stop. And first of all, I think it was a bold choice for her to enter this. Um, but I recall going to see a Degas exhibit many years ago at the Philadelphia Museum of Art, and he had a lot of his paintings there, and there's a room full of his sketches, and I was far more interested in his sketches, many of which um, seemed unfinished. Right, you would very much like this, but I mean that in the best sense of the word, where it's just it's perfect as it is. I feel like if she would have went any further, it might have taken some of the magic away. But there's something about, seeing, a sketch where you could see the process almost unfolding. You could see those faint lines. You could almost imagine the artist at work when they're putting a drawing like this together. So this is just a gorgeous charcoal drawing. Such a beautiful rendering of the human figure, the angle, the facial expression, the hands, which can be really difficult to get right. Um, the shading and just the folds in her clothing, just a beautiful drawing.
Look at our first prize. Susan Levin, Evening's Roost.
Yeah, where to begin with this one, huh? It just first of all, an enormous, a very large piece, and I was glad I got to meet Susan and got to hear a little bit about her inspiration behind this graphite drawing. I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall and witnessed the process, and I could only imagine just how long this piece took to make and the precision. Not smearing the graphite, it can be a very messy medium. Um, but I could only imagine she probably started with the clouds first, later did the trees next, and the birds. That part I'm not so sure about, but there's such a delicate touch to this, and it has such a sculptural quality. It almost looks like someone carved out the image in a way. It almost looks like a beautiful print. But yeah, just an absolutely lovely piece. I could look at it for hours, and I'm in just complete awe of it.
She did mention that every bird was done individually, which
Yeah, and when you look at it closely, and again, like Lisa said, this is something. The show is something you have to see in person. You hear that all the time, and you see the digital image, and I remember during the jurying process, how striking it was just looking at it on the computer. But then to come and see it in person is just a whole other experience. And yeah, what just absolutely incredible.
let's go to our next category. which is mixed media, collage, and experimental. Third prize, Renee Lockman, All Fly Home.
Yeah. There's something, I got to talk to Renee about this, and she was just so humble and also just so happy that she got, third prize, and so deservedly so. But and I say this in the most complimentary way. This reminds me of something that I could see my students doing, and I mean that in the best way. It's just there's such a childlike imagination, just the way it's composed, the way it's put together. I love the resourcefulness. Um, I love that you could see the cardboard on the branches, and then the choice of colors. Um, just an endearing piece that, again, you have to see in person. But um, yeah, I absolutely love it. Everything about it.
Go to second prize, Patricia Schotke, A Perfect Gift.
Yeah, such a cheerful piece. I think, there have been so many studies on how color can influence somebody's mood. And I feel like right away when I saw this one, my mood just lit up, especially that bold yellow, the different shades of pink. It has a real musical quality to it too. And I think it's interesting because she has the little musical notes towards the bottom. But I feel like just the flowers, each individual flower coming out of that vase, um, is part of a melody or a rhythm. And yeah, it's just a really bold collage. I love collage. And this is a great example of a very well done collage.
Let's look at our first prize, Lily Cagg, Summer on the C&O Canal.
Yeah, I was happy to be able to speak with Lily and learn a little bit about her process. Um, and she was telling me, and this is a big piece too, by the way. She was saying how initially it was just a watercolor, and when I say just a watercolor, I understand how difficult a watercolor can be, but she thought, I need to go a little further on this. I need to do something else. And she got inspired to just start adding little painted strips of paper and just kind of layering them to get um, those beautiful textures on the water. And I thought it was a really bold but very successful decision. And I think that's what makes this piece stand out. It was kind of funny, Lily. She was saying how in real life, this part of C&O Canal is actually not this nice and colorful, that is actually kind of drab. But when I look at this, it just again makes me want to visit this place. Like I just want to take a boat out there and hang out on the lawn for an afternoon and take in the fresh air. Just a really, really nicely put together piece.
So, Steve, the next time you're in Montgomery County, let us know and we'll visit it together. I know exactly where this is.
Okay. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, I'd love to.
Nice place to take a walk.
Yeah, I bet. Thank you.
Next category, sculpture and ceramics. And our third prize, Nancy Jakubowski, Beloved.
Yeah, I love this. Right away I was reminded, I know for a while, you think about all the different towns and cities, and they have these sculptures that go up, these big sculptures that kind of represent the towns, and different artists are commissioned to paint them. And this reminded me a lot of Leesburg. For a while, Leesburg had horses. Where I'm from, Pittsburgh, we had dinosaurs. I know Winchester, Virginia, they had big apples for the Apple Blossom Festival. And of course, DC had the pandas. But this reminded me of that. There's something very customized about this, very individualistic. And I wish I was able to talk to Nancy because I feel like there was some kind of symbolism um, on the blanket on the horse, you know, and I'm not sure what that's called. It's going around the neck, but you could see some looks like leaves. So it's just, I love the horse, and I love the colors, and I'm just very curious as to the story behind the sculpture.
We'll see if we can find out for you.
Yeah.
Second prize, Pearl Chang. Hello, I'm Bot.
Yeah, this was great. I got the pleasure of speaking to Pearl. And first of all, this photograph is a great photo, but it doesn't really do the piece justice. It's a sculpture that you have to see from all angles. I absolutely love the resourcefulness that went into the making of this. How it's made from found objects, from picture frames, from a found book. Um, and there's such a childlike approach. And again, in the best sense of the word, I think as adults we kind of lose that sometimes, right? We become very rational, like why would I do that? That wouldn't be right. And I feel like she really got in touch with her inner child when she made this. This also reminds me a lot of some great folk art or visionary art. I don't know if you guys have been to the American Visionary Museum in Baltimore, but it has a lot of work on display from self-taught artists, and just the creativity in this sculpture, and just the sense of humor, and I think even the title is just all around great sculpture.
Let's go to our first prize winner, Zhao Zhao, the shoe.
Yeah, wow. Again, one that you have to see in person, and um, I don't know if it's you, Pat, or Lisa, she was saying how she had fun making this. And I just, I mean, I'd imagine it was fun, but I'm just trying to imagine how she put it together. I didn't get to talk to her. I don't think I met her. Um, but wow, I mean, just the whole construction of this shoe and the choice of color, it just seems so delicate. I love the flower, in the front, the pearls, just a beautiful piece. But I'd imagine, just working with the wire, just the amount of time that it must have taken, um, and the craftsmanship put into this.
And it's not shown here, but the way it's presented under that in that acrylic box, you know,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. So
yeah, yeah. Presentation can really make or break a piece, and I think, yeah, she did a great job with that too. So I'm glad you mentioned that, Lisa.
it's a beautiful piece.
So let's go to our final category, which is photographs. And we've got an honorable mention, Chris Kern, Silent Night.
Yeah, growing up in Pennsylvania, we had a lot of snow, and I remember a lot of times just in my youth after it would snow, just kind of walking in the evening, up and down the street and seeing the lights on in the houses, and just imagining everyone just kind of probably at home staying warm. I love how the trees are kind of illuminated. I think the title is perfect. It really does capture this kind of, again, calm, silent feeling you get in the winter time. I think, I love all four seasons, and I think this is the part of winter, not so much the shoveling, but that nice kind of peaceful aspect, that almost kind of cozy feel you get. I think there's such a warmth coming out of those windows that you can imagine. But yeah, just a great photograph.
Very nice.
Here's the third prize, Lisa Sieg, Daybreak at Driftwood Beach. Beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. Big congrats, Lisa. I love this photograph. I think I'm a big fan of photographs from life, just being out and about, and cultivating that eye for things that would make a great composition, or that would stand out, or that would make a special image. And I feel like you really have that, Lisa. Um, and it's one of those moments you think about where you probably almost had to be kind of spontaneous when you took the picture, because before long, those silhouettes would have been gone. It would have been a completely different sky, in a matter of minutes, even. But I love the driftwood, how it's just composed in this photograph. Um, just that silvery blue water against the orange horizon line, and you see that sun kind of fading in the background, and the different striations of clouds going across that sky. Um, yeah, this is more than just your typical beach scene. It's a really gorgeous photograph.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Sure.
Oops, too far. Let's go. Second prize, Gary Clark, Evidence of Human Visitation.
Yeah, this is a great one. And I got to talk to Gary and his wife, and how were they were just kind of walking along the Chesapeake Bay. And he was saying how this was shortly after the snowcrete that we all had this winter was kind of melting. So it's
Yeah.
still a very cold time on the beach. Um, and he noticed there was that blanket, that pinkish blanket, and that bag of Doritos just kind of sitting there. And even if you take that out of the image, it's still a gorgeous image. There's a sort of quiet solitude. I love the fog. It's not your more known kind of summer beach scene. I've been to the Chesapeake in the summer and in the spring, and it's a much different different scene with lots of human activity. But there was clearly some kind of human activity, and there's some kind of story behind this that you could only wonder, like who was there only hours before, maybe the day before, who knows? I had a great English teacher in 11th grade, and every week he would do this creative writing exercise. He had a great collection of black and white photos, and he would hang them up on his board. And for that period, we would have to look at that photograph and write about it. And I just love that. I fell in love with creative writing and photography because of that. And I think this really can take your mind in different places, just making you wonder um, what happened here? What Who was hanging out in the cold on a blanket eating Doritos? So, yeah, just great, Pete. Great photograph.
Okay, our first prize winner, Kathy McDermott, Stone Face.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm glad she used black and white. I think there's something to be said. There's a time and place for black and white photography, and I think this was perfect because you have a lot of um, you got a lot of shadows, you got a lot of um, texture in this picture. Of course, with the splotch monsters, I'm someone who tries to find um, faces and whatnot, figures in things. And so I love that she was able to see a face in that stone. But even beyond that, it's just a well composed photograph. It's a really beautiful one. And you can tell she has an artist's eye. I think people who take photographs, um, who find things like this, it's they're probably always looking at things, right? I think it's almost a practice that you cultivate. And I don't know, Lisa, you might be able to relate as a photographer where um, you notice things more, right? And I think more people should do that. Just go out and take pictures of things, and you really appreciate the world around you a lot more. So I love this one. For lack of a better word, it's whimsical, and it's just a fantastic photograph.
She does have a history to this, and it's written in the virtual show. It's very interesting. She took it in Alabama, and it's a wall
Yeah.
um, dedicated to his, a man named Tom Hendrick's mother or grandmother. Um,
Oh,
it's in,
wow.
but um, it just got a lot of history to it. But in person, you can see
Yeah.
like the mouth of the first stone. People put
Hmm.
pennies in there, and a lot of people visit this wall. It commemorates the Trail of Tears and this grandmother
Wow.
from Alabama, or walked back from Oklahoma back to Alabama after being displaced, and it's just
Yeah.
something. But then
A whole other layer of meaning.
attachment to it. Yeah,
Wow.
it's a
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, it's great. And when you look at, I mean, the one stone at the large one with the obvious face, that's of course the standout thing in this image. But then you start looking at the other stones and you can't help but start
any.
seeing other faces as well. I don't know about you, but I'm seeing faces in all of these stones. But yeah, thanks for sharing that, Lisa. I did not know that.
Interesting.
So let's go to our final piece in our slideshow, which is our Best in Show.
Wow, we're
Isabella
here already.
Martiri, Age of Wonder.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, so many amazing paintings, photographs, collages, you name it in this show. It made it so difficult to to be a judge. And I mean that again in the best sense of the word, but wow, for me personally, this one really, really stood out. Maybe it's being a teacher of young people, being very much invested in young people and their futures. So that could be part of it, but also, I mean, just everything about this was so well done. It's just such a sweet, endearing painting. I love how the light falls on the little girl's face, the rendering of the hair, the dress in particular, getting that pattern. Um, the folds on her dress, the wallpaper, the curtains, everything about it is perfection. And also just hearing a little bit about her occupation, what she does, was another layer of meaning to this. And I learned that afterwards. That it just made me all the more happy that I chose this one as Best in Show. And just a really sweet person. She was very humble about this. I mean, this again, this could be something that you could find in the National Gallery or any the Phillips Collection or any art museum. Um, yeah, a really special piece. You wonder what is that little girl thinking? What's she looking at? Is she daydreaming? There's a real sense of wonder in this gorgeous painting, and it's a big one too.
I would look for it in the portrait gallery downtown.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But
I'm gonna stop the slideshow now, and then we'll have time for any final conversation or comments. By the way, Steve, you made inspired choices, not just of what would be in the show, but obviously what would be recognized through awards. And
thank you,
I
Patrick.
can't thank you enough. Any final comments, anyone?
Well, the other person here, thank you so much for creating such a beautiful show for us. We just are so grateful.
It was my pleasure, Lisa. It really was. I mean, this definitely made my day, my week, my month being a part of this. So it's a real honor, and it really drives home the amount of talent that we have here um, in the DMV. I mean, just the level of just the caliber of work from everyone. It's just truly amazing. Such an area rich in artists and amazing artists. So, um, thank you for what you guys do. I think you're such a crucial part of this local art scene. It's a lot of behind the scenes work that I feel like might go a little bit underappreciated. So thank you guys. Um, I think we need art more than ever, right? Um, and I found a lot of the work in this show. I mean, there's all kinds of art, right? We have art that is provocative, that can be political, and that's great. But one thing I found overall in this exhibit in particular, and maybe it's something we need more of, is just the happiness. It was just a very happy show. Um, you know, Colorful, beautiful, happy, um, full of energy, full of spirit, just a gorgeous show all around. And I highly recommend that people go see it in person. If you haven't been to the Glenview Mansion itself, I mean, just an amazing an amazing place, amazing architecture. And so to see that work hanging in that beautiful building is in itself a treat. So yeah, I highly recommend people take the trip out, go see it in person, get inspired. I know it's inspired me. Um, Definitely check it out.
Thanks again, Steve. Thank you very, very much. And
Thank
it
you.
is a lot of work. And when you see a show like this, it just makes it feel like all that work is worthwhile. Thanks again.
Thank you.